Thursday night football, Ravens at the Chiefs. Chiefs are favored by 3. This is the opening game of the season, rematch of last year's AFC Championship game. We'll each say a brief statement and then who we think is going to win. Jason, you're wearing the Patrick Mahomes jersey tonight, so I have to start with you here on this one.
So it's for the audience. All my Giants jerseys are outdated. All I have is Odell Beckham and Saquon Barkley. So I want to wear that on the show. People go like, "You guys know he's not on the team no more." I know. So I'm trying to wear an up-to-date jersey to keep it with the flow. But with that being said, I'm taking the Ravens. The Chiefs have a history of starting the season slow, losing opening games off of miscues. I think the Ravens come out with their new revamped offense, set the tone. I think they steal week 1 in Arrowhead. I'm going to say 30-27 by a field goal by Justin Tucker.
You want me to go, Tom, or do you want to go?
Pardon, I was muted. I said, oh boy, you're up.
Okay. I'm going with the Chiefs because they got a big boost when they found out that, surprisingly, I think against a lot of people's expectations, Rashee Rice will not be suspended to start for the year, and he's an absolute stud wide receiver. Let's be honest, they still have the best quarterback in the NFL. I know he had a down season last year, but when this guy's on, he's the best. And they're at home. I think it'll be a close game. I think the Ravens have a really solid roster. I think bringing in Derrick Henry will do wonders for their running game. But at the end of the day, I'm trusting Patrick Mahomes in the opening day game more than I will Lamar Jackson. So I'm going to go for the Chiefs to win this game. I'll say 30-24.
There's one way the Ravens win this game. There's only one way, in my opinion, and I think they're going to do it. Keep the Chiefs offense off the field. And they have a beast offensive line with Derrick Henry in this game. They're going to be extra pissed from last season, so I do think the Ravens win the game by a field goal. I think the Chiefs are the overall better team, but right now, I think Baltimore is going to win this game. Remember, the Chiefs lost week 1 last year against the Detroit Lions. Similar situation there. So I think Baltimore pulls this one out. I think Lamar Jackson has a really good game, but Derrick Henry is the juggernaut for me running behind that offensive line. You could easily run up and down the field. Lamar would only have to throw the ball like 15, 20 times. And if you keep the Chiefs off the field, you're golden. You're golden. So, yeah, that's what I think is going to happen there. So, wow. 2 out of 3 against the Super Bowl champs. Crazy.
What do you got for the score, Tom?
I'm gonna do 23-21 Baltimore. But yeah, let's head down to Brazil. They say you can't wear green in Brazil, but they pick 2 teams that wear green to play there. Green Bay and Philadelphia. Noah, we'll start with you here on this one. Jordan Love against Jalen Hurts and that Eagles offense. Fly, Eagles, fly. Saquon's Eagles debut in South America. Who would have ever thought?
This is a toss-up. I think both these teams are really good. But I'm gonna go with Philly in this one. I think the only reason I would pick Green Bay is Jalen Hurts. I mean, I'm not personally a big fan of him. I do actually think Jordan Love was really good last year, but they did get to their credit Saquon Barkley and to kind of be their lead back. They still have Kenneth Gainwell there as well. Their top 2 receivers need no explanation, and then they traded for Jahan Dotson, who I've always kind of liked. He's kind of flown under the radar a bit because the Washington offense has been their achievement, but he was a beast at Penn State in college. And he did score like 11 touchdowns the past year, so it's not like he was doing nothing. Dallas Goedert is one of the top 5 to 10 tight ends, I'd say, just off the top of my head for sure. The offensive line is incredible. Their defensive line is incredible. Green Bay is a good team, but they don't have that go-to guy at wide receiver. Philadelphia has 2. Josh Jacobs, I think, is a beast, but he did have a down year last year, so we'll see what he does for the Packers this season. But I think Philadelphia overall is more talented. I think Green Bay has more question marks. I still think they're a very good team, but I think for this one, down in good old Brazil, I'm going to pick Philadelphia to win. Something like 31-20, not that high, maybe like 27-23.
Jay?
There might be some bias in this answer, but I'm picking the Packers to win this one. I just don't want to see Saquon Barkley win with the Eagles. It sounds like I'm hating, but I can't. It's gonna hurt my heart to see it. So give me the Packers. On a serious note, I do think the Eagles got some questions to answer in that secondary. I do think the Packers win this game just by airing it out. Don't get me wrong, Josh Jacobs is a phenomenal running back, and the Packers O-line is pretty solid, but the Eagles' run defense, I feel, is one of the best in the league. So I feel like if you are going to beat this Eagles team, you have to throw the ball, which Love is excellent at. I think he was one of the best quarterbacks last year on big play situations for like over 40 yards. So, and the Green Bay wide receiver is incredible. You got Christian Watson, young guys like Romeo Dobbs. I forget his name. His last name is Dontavian
Wicks.
Dontavian Wicks. I think that's a really good receiver room against a shaky Philadelphia secondary. So I'm gonna get the Packers in this one. They're gonna be throwing the ball a lot. Give me 28-21.
So the Eagles did not end the season well last year at all. They looked like the worst team in football at times. They lost to a 3 or 4 win Cardinals team last season on New Year's Eve. They lost to the Giants in Week 18 convincingly. That carried over into the playoffs, where Baker Mayfield looked like the second coming of Joe Montana. I think Jordan Love is really good. Do I think the Packers are a little bit overhyped? Sure, because they're young and they're inexperienced. But this game's not in Philly. Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell both listed as questionable. So I'm going to side with Green Bay here in this one. I'm going to go even lower than that. I think this game finishes in the high teens. I think the Packers win this one 17-14 down in Brazil. Not a lot of scoring at all. A lot of sloppy play in week 1. Next up, Noah, your Falcons. So I'll let you go first again here. Favored by 3.5. Kirk Cousins' Falcons debut. Does it go the way that he wants?
This one is tough because the Steelers and honestly the AFC North as a whole have had the Falcons number as long as I can remember. I mean, the Falcons have never beaten the Steelers anytime I've watched them play them. I don't even know the last time that they beat the Steelers. They have like a 1-9 record against them. That said, just looking talent-wise, trying to take the history out of it, I do think the Falcons should win the game. I think they have a big advantage at QB, Kirk Cousins versus Russell Wilson. Obviously, if it's 5 years ago, you give it to Russell Wilson, but he struggled mightily the last couple of seasons. And Kirk, when he's healthy, which obviously got hurt last year, but when he's healthy, you know what you're getting. You're getting 4,000 plus yards, 25 to 30 touchdowns, around 10 interceptions. That's more than enough for this Falcons team to win. They only need mediocre quarterback play to win, and they couldn't even get that last year, but they're going to have above average play this year, I think. You got Bijan, you got London. They brought in Darnell Mooney, who I think is a really solid guy for a number 2. You got Kyle Pitts. Offensive line has improved. Defense has improved, and then they add to it. They got Jesse Bates last year. Now they add in Justin Simmons, who's a stud, by the way. I don't know how he was unsigned for that long. Trade for Matthew Judon to bolster the pass rush. You still got Grady Jarrett there. Zach Harrison comes in. I am a bit worried about Caden Ellis, though. He is questionable. I'm not sure he's going to play personally. That would be a big loss. I think it'd be close. I think the Steelers have good weapons. I like Harris. Obviously, I love George Pickens. Freiermuth is a stud as well. And defensively, I mean, TJ Watt, they just extended Cameron Hayward today as well. But I'm going to go to the Falcons in a close one. I think this will be a more defensive game. I'm going to go 21-17 Atlanta.
All right, Jason, what about you here? Are you going with Atlanta or Pittsburgh?
I'll go with Atlanta on this one. They're at home. First game of the season. I feel like more to Nova's point. Kirk Cousins is the favorable guy in this matchup. Don't get me wrong. He's going against a very good secondary and a very good pass rush. But I feel like the weapons that were put in this year for the Falcons is going to give him a good chance. And then I'll just take Kirk Cousins, like his IQ and just his ability to make plays. I'm taking that over Russell Wilson. Even with Russell Wilson having the ability to extend plays from time to time, I'm just still taking Kirk Cousins is just field general, IQ, knowing how to find guys open, and he has that grittiness to him that I like in quarterbacks. That when it gets tough, they're still gonna do whatever they can do to win the game. As I feel like Russell Wilson is a little more reliant on who's around him. And I think Russell Wilson is definitely going to be tested in this game. He's going to be tested for sure. Not too much with that O-line, but he's got George Pickens as his number one wide receiver, who I feel like is really a number 2 right now. But we'll see what he does. They still got Najee, obviously. Yeah, give me the Falcons. I'm gonna say the Steelers' defense is tough, but I think Kirk gets it done. Give me. And I don't see Steelers scoring that much, so give me 21-10.
October 22nd, 2006. Does that date sound familiar, Noah?
Is that the last time they beat the Steelers?
Correct.
Yeah.
Also, what resonates with that? Mike Tomlin's rookie year as an NFL head coach with the Steelers. Fun fact. That was fun. Offensively, I don't love Russell Wilson in this environment at Atlanta. Throughout his career, I believe Russ has been a little bit shaky on the road across the country back when he played at Seattle. I like Kirk Cousins here in this debut. You would refer to him as a meat and potatoes type of quarterback, a guy who cannot move for his life. He needs a lot of time to decide, but luckily he will no longer have Ed Ingram stepping on his toes up in Minnesota. This is not rehearsed, folks. I think you're going to see a lot of play action rollouts in this game. Drake London is going to be solid. Kyle Pitts finally has a guy that throws him the ball. Noah, last year when we went to see Florida and Georgia that weekend down in Jacksonville, right? That Sunday, I'm driving you to the airport. Desmond Ridder benched for Taylor Heineke on our car ride down to drop you off at MCO.
Yep.
And I said one thing to you. Atlanta wins this division with an average quarterback. Atlanta would have won the division last year with Daniel Jones at quarterback. Why? Because they have a good offensive line. They have a good Daniel Jones would have been the best quarterback in the NFC South last year. Maybe not Baker, but behind a good offensive line, he might have. Point is, Falcons win this game. Better quarterback play, better line up front. No, by the way, Bijan Robinson is fallen in fantasy drafts like the back end of the first round, which is insane. This is a top 3-4 guy in fantasy this year, guys.
Dude, I was so mad. I picked number 9 in one of my drafts, and I don't know how this happened. Both he and Breece Hall fell to the 2 picks before me, and they both went. I was hoping some idiot wouldn't take one of them. I was so mad, man.
You would have thought Jason and I were crazy drafting at 8 a.m. yesterday.
Oh, my God.
8 a.m. on Labor Day.
It's always 7 p.m. for me, man. Something like that. Always.
Score. I'm going to throw something weird. 23-13. Steelers won't score a lot of points. Defense keeps them in the game late. Turnover. Cousins capitalizes. Makes it a 2-possession game. Good night, Pittsburgh. Next up, game number 4. Cardinals at the Bills. Bills only 6.5-point favorites as of right now. Arizona has to travel all the way across the country. The debut of Marvin Harrison Jr. Could a warm weather team survive in a cold weather tundra? Jason, I'll start with you.
Now, you asked me this question last year. The Cardinals have no business even being in this game. But something is telling me Buffalo is about to struggle this year. I've sensed it since Diggs moved on, and not even that. I've sensed it since after that AFC divisional game last year. It was horrible. I mean, like the way they were struggling to move the ball against the Chiefs defense, and then the missed field goal. I just feel like it's all went downhill from there. Granted, they did bring in Keon Coleman, and Curtis Samuel. So offense didn't take too much of a hit, but I don't know. It's like something in my body just tells me like the team is not going to be the same this year. So I'm still going to take Buffalo. I really want to take Arizona, but I feel like they'll be pushed. So I'm still going to take Buffalo. Marvin Harrison is a great player. I honestly, his ceiling this year, I think he has the potential to be a top 15 receiver this year. I think he's that good. And yeah, if you ask me, he was really the best player in the draft class, but a lot of people won't agree with that. But Buffalo defense, again, I'm a defensive guy, so that's what I'm really looking at. He's definitely gonna be tested with that secondary. Buffalo secondary isn't a joke at all. Remind me, is Trey White still with them?
No.
Tre'Davious White? He's not.
Nope.
He's not.
I forget
All
where
right.
he signed to.
Wasn't the Rams?
Yes,
The Rams. But yeah, the Bills lost some key pieces on both sides of the ball. But I'll still take them just because I like Josh Allen over Kyler Murray. I like James Cook over James Conner. And I like Bills defense over Cardinals defense. So I want to take the Bills. I'll say they score a lot of points only because I feel like the Cardinals will score just as many points. So give me the Bills 27-24.
Okay. Noah, who do you got here? Are you not confident in Buffalo like Jason is, or do you have a little more confidence in them?
I think I'm kind of with the same vein as Jason, to where if you asked me this like last year, I'd say Buffalo wins this game comfortably by 3+ possessions. But first of all, the Bills have some injuries. Wide receiver Curtis Samuel and Marquez Valdez-Scantling are both questionable for this game. Now, I believe they'll play, but if they're not 100%, that means Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, and Matt Collins will have to step up a bit more. I love their 1-2 punch at running back. My boy James Cook, and then they brought in Ray Davis. The Bills understand that football runs through the SEC, and so they got those two running backs in there. That's always nice. And of course, they have Josh Allen, who's an absolute monster. Defensively, I think they're solid. As for the Cardinals, I do like James Conner. He had that insane 2022 season where he scoring touchdowns at will. Had a bit of a down year last year, but they bring in Trey Brinson, who I mentioned earlier when he talked about FSU. I think he'll be really solid in the NFL. Marvin Harrison Jr., animal. No, not much to say there. Michael Wilson, solid number 2. And then my boy Trey McBride, got him on a fantasy team, man. This guy's going to be an elite tight end this year. Easily top 5, maybe top 3. We'll see. I think the biggest question mark, honestly, is what is Kyler Murray going to do this season? I think he's got talent, but I think he's very inconsistent as well. And then I think defensively, I have to get Buffalo the edge. So I will go Buffalo in this game. I think it'll be close. Past years, it might be a blowout, but I don't think this one. I think this could be a potential upset alert, but I'm not going to go as far as to pick Arizona. I'll go Buffalo to win this game 27-20.
All right. So I think I'm a little bit more confident in Buffalo than all of you. I think why I am is because I think Diggs in certain areas was holding them back last year. They did lose Gabe Davis, so that's not good, but they did draft Keon Coleman at the beginning of the second round, and I think that was an excellent draft pick out of Florida State, a big-bodied receiver that can win those jump balls. Dalton Kincaid over the middle of the field is the number 1 option. A lot of people are comparing him to a guy like a Travis Kelce, so I think Kincaid has the volume of a Travis Kelce. Not comparing him to him just yet, but I do think that there are similarities in their games and their athletic ability. Look, the defense might have taken a step back. They lost a lot. They lost Poyer, Hyde, White, you name it. Matt Milano's out for the first month of the season at least. So there's going to be some issues there, but you still got Greg Rousseau, DaQuan Jones, and Ed Oliver up the middle. Buffalo wins this game. Final score 31-17 for Buffalo. I'm a little bit more confident in this week 1 game. Titans at Bears. Chicago's favored by 3.5 at Soldier Field. Caleb Williams makes his NFL debut as a starting quarterback for Chicago. And Will Levis with the Titans on the road, led by new first-year head coach Brian Callahan, former OC of the Cincinnati Bengals. Jason, you're on the clock.
Uh, this is gonna be a close one for me. I'm gonna start with the defenses. Um, oof. Titans brought in L'Jarius Sneed. Feel like they got Jeffrey Simons on the edge. That's amazing. Uh, mm, it's gonna be close for me. I really feel like the winner of this game is gonna come down to which team runs the ball better. Because I feel like both quarterbacks still got some questions to answer. Obviously, Caleb Williams is a rookie. Will Levis second year. He did show some signs of hope last year, and like his last when he got the start, he had like that first game where he connected with D Hop twice. That was good. But I still think both quarterbacks got some questions to answer. So that's why I'm not gonna say it comes down to them. I think it comes down to which backfield is gonna have the better game. You got Tajay Spears, Tony Pollard. I feel like that's a good backfield. On Chicago's end, you got DeAndre Swift, Khalil Herbert. Uh, and from what I heard, DeAndre Swift isn't the solidified number one. Him and Khalil Herbert are going to split snaps, so that's going to be interesting to see. I think Chicago has the more dynamic offense though, which for me is going to give them the edge in this one. Give me Chicago. I go Chicago 24-20.
All right, Noah. Do you agree, or are you going the other way?
I think this is a pure coin flip game. I mean, I kind of already talked about the Titans earlier. I think both these teams are going to be much improved this season. Caleb Williams, like, I'm not the biggest fan of him, but I do think he has talent and he does have weapons. DeAndre Swift and Khalil Herbert, like Jason mentioned, you bring in Keenan Allen. You already had DJ Moore, who's an animal. And then you draft Tom Scavetta's favorite wide receiver of the class, who he wanted the Giants to take, and they did not. Good old Rome Odunze. I think he's going to be very good. Defensively, though, I will say Kevin Byard and Jaquan Brisker, they're two expect to be their starting safeties. They're both questionable for this game. So if they're not 100%, that could be something for the Titans to take advantage of. But I'm probably going to pick Chicago. I think it'd be really close. I would not be surprised at all if Tennessee won. But I'll pick Chicago to win it 24-23.
All right. Well, third game in a row, we're 3 for 3. I'm going Chicago 21-20. I don't love Tennessee in this game only because they're on the road. I think right now Chicago has the advantage at home. Caleb has an average game, but they control the clock. That defense is elite, man. That defense is really, really good. If they don't win 8-9 games this year, it'll be a huge disappointment. They have to win at least that, I think, for Eberflus to keep his job. You need to see steady progress year by year. They sucked in 22. 23 last year was This year, they have to get around 500. And then the year after that, they have to take the leap towards the postseason. All right, Patriots at Bengals. This is the largest spread of the week. The Patriots are the biggest underdogs. Starting quarterback Jacoby Brissett is the placeholder for now, with Drake May sitting behind him, waiting his name to be called in the wings. Joe Burrow is healthy and back for the Cincinnati Bengals. Still contract discussions with Jamar Chase. He is the next receiver in line to be paid now that CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Ayuk are done. Noah, going with you here. I'm pretty high on the Bengals this season. Does New England have any chance?
I personally don't think so. I think if one of their other quarterbacks, like Drake May or Joe Milton, was playing this game, I might give them a shot because they're at least kind of unknowns. We all know what Jacoby Brissett is. I mean, he's a respectable, higher-end backup, fringe spot starter type of guy. He's not a guy you want starting the season on the road at Cincinnati. With Joe Burrow coming back from injury, I think the only hope New England might have is if Joe Burrow still isn't 100%, but I think he will be. And I mean, obviously the weapons are just absolutely loaded there. It's not even a comparison. Even though I will say I do like Jalen Polk for the Patriots. I really liked him at Washington. But I mean, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, they got in Zach Moss as well. Mike Gesicki, another decent addition for them as well. I don't think they have any shot. I think this is probably the first one I picked that I think will be one side. I'm going to go Cincinnati to win this one 31-14.
All right, Jason.
Yeah, I think this is the highest spread game for a reason. Patriots, their offense. That's what it is for me. Their offense. It's not. It can't compete with a team like Cincinnati. And Cincinnati's offense is just too much for Patriots defense to handle, in my opinion. Joe Burrow back healthy. Jamar Chase, we don't know what the situation is with him, but most likely getting his money and hopefully is a suit up for week 1. And if he is, that just, I feel like, increases the spread even more. Not too much to say. The spread is the spread. I got Cincinnati in a landslide. I got Cincinnati 37-10.
Okay. Yeah, the only bright spot of the Patriots offense is probably their rookie quarterback and then Jalen Polk, the receiver out of Washington, who I happen to really like. Cincinnati, they signed Zach Moss. They got Chase Brown entering his second year. I think that's a viable 1-2 punch in the backfield. I think Chase Brown eventually overtakes Zach Moss. I think there's going to be some big passing plays made in this game against that vulnerable Patriots secondary. Gerard Mayo's debut as head coach won't go as planned. Unfortunately, the Bengals are going to ride them out of town. This is probably the worst team in the NFL this season, if I had to guess. And it's crazy we're saying that 4 years after Tom Brady's departure. But Bengals win this game 34-7. Sorry, guys. Next up, Texans at Colts. Interdivisional matchup. Texans are favored by 3. 2 teams projected to make a run at postseason play this season. Noah.
I think it's an upset alert. I think you could definitely pick the Colts, but I'm not going to. I'm going with the Texans this one. Quarterback advantage, I think, goes to the Texans. I think AR did look good last year before he got hurt, especially running the football. But, I mean, I think just pure passing-wise, and obviously has way more experience as didn't get hurt. I give the edge to C.J. Stroud there. I think the Texans have a filthy receiver trio. They brought in Stephon Diggs to go with Nico Collins and my boy Nathaniel Tank Dell. I think that's a great trio there. They also brought in Joe Mixon, and they still have Dameon Pierce. So I think that's a decent 1-2 combination as well. And, of course, Tom, I got to do it to you. Defensively, they brought in my boy from Georgia, Kamari Lassiter, which I think is an underrated pickup for them as well. I do think it'll – I do think it would – excuse me, my God. I think it'll be close. Jonathan Taylor, he needs to get back to his old ways instead of, kind of struggling. And I do like they also brought in, funny enough, Indianapolis, another former Georgia Bulldog, my boy A.D. Mitchell. But give me the Texans in this one, 24-21. It'll be close, but I'll give the Texans the edge.
Okay, so the Colts, and I just found this out, the Colts are 0-9-1 in week 1 over the last 10 years.
Oh, my God.
Jason, do the Colts have any chance of overcoming that feat this week?
I
just threw that stat at. Yeah, I hope that didn't change any opinions if you were going there.
So, you know what? That stat is actually going to make me choose the Colts. I think this is the year they break that streak. For me, really what it is, now, like, these are really 2 great teams, so it's hard for me to make a decision, like, so easily, but I think they both have a great coaching staff, great young offenses, good explosive defenses on both sides. It's really a toss-up for me. I think what it comes down to is the quarterback play, and which I think Anthony Richardson is going to outclass C.J. Stroud just for week 1. Just for week 1. I think he's going to have a statement game, didn't get to showcase his talents all of last year. Yeah, so I'm going to take the Colts. I'm going to take the Colts 28-24.
All right. I'm going Texans to split the tie here because of not just that stat, but I just think that Anthony Richardson coming off the injury week 1 might be a little too much to overcome, but I think they're going to have a good season. I think they're going to keep it close. Yeah, I think a lot of points are going to be scored. Give me 31-28 Texans. Despite the good defenses too, you have to consider, 2 quarterbacks. One has solidified himself as one of the top QBs in the NFL after just 1 season. And then the other is a potential star in the making or a potential bust. We still don't know. He looked good last season when he was healthy before the injury. So I'd say, he's in that average range right now. That's probably where you have to put him. But yeah, I think the Texans win and cover that spread. 3-point win, 3-point spread. All right. Quickly here, Jaguars at Dolphins. Dolphins favored by 3.5. Do Trevor Lawrence and the Jags pull off the upset as North Florida takes on South Florida? Jason, you're up.
I don't see it for the Jaguars, man. I'm really trying to, but I just can't. Well, number one, just get the elephant out in the room. No one is guarding Tyreek Hill at all. So he's gonna have a day, regardless of what team he plays against. So that's already, you gotta consider like 1 to 2 touchdowns given. Quarterback play. I do like Lawrence over Tua. I feel like he's a better decision maker. But who Lawrence has? Christian Kirk. Who's that other receiver? Gabe Davis. He did that. Gabe Davis. I do. It's just the speed in Miami. Like Raheem Mostert season last year had what, 20 touchdowns?
Mm-hmm.
Devon Chain
18.
Devon Chain, great rookie year. Obviously he had that one game against the Broncos where they dropped 70 on him or 60 something, and then everybody went crazy from there. I just don't think the Jaguars can contain that speed. You know what I'm saying? Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. Not to say Beckham's really a factor, but they did add him. Jalen Ramsey is actually healthy for the whole season now, so that's going to be something to look at. Yeah, I got the Dolphins in this one. Give me the Dolphins. Give me the Dolphins. 23-17.
Noah, who do you got?
Another close one. I'm probably going to go with the Dolphins, though. I think they have better skills positions. I mean, Tyreek and Waddle, in my opinion, win that by themselves. Although I will say I think the Jags have a solid top 3 receivers and a guy that Jason did not mention, Brian Thomas, the rookie out of LSU. I think that guy's going to be an animal in the NFL. But we need to see if Trevor Lawrence can bounce back. Tua, I don't think he's amazing, but I don't think he's bad either. I think he's, one of those slightly above average quarterbacks that can look elite on one day and look terrible the other day. But I think he'll have a good game to start the year. And the Dolphins they basically have 4 running backs. They could play any of Mostert, A-Chain, Jalen Wright, who I really liked at Tennessee. And Jeff, you have good running back depth when Jeff Wilson, what I'm looking at, is 4th on their depth chart. That's just crazy. They got Johnny Smith at tight end, who Arthur Smith played as the number 1 tight end most of the year last year in Atlanta. He's pretty solid. And for the Jags, I think it'll be close, but I think the Miami just has a little bit more offensive firepower. So I'm going to pick the Dolphins to win this one, 27-20.
All right. You guys know I'm more of a North Florida guy than a South. However, that does not mean that I'm going with the Jaguars here. 2022, Jags made the playoffs after starting 2-6. I think they get off to a slow start this season and improve as the season progresses. Last year, they started 8-3 and finished 9-8. That did not do them service. They missed the postseason the last week of the season. So, to be honest with you guys, I think Miami's in better position here. I really like them a lot. I think this is a 2 or 3 point game. Let's go final score. Ooh, I don't want to do this to them. 27-26, Miami wins. But yeah. Do we all agree that the Panthers are losing here? And we could just declare the Saints victorious? Or, Noah, is there a possibility somehow, some way they pull this one off?
I think there is a possibility because the Panthers usually play the Saints tough. However, just because it's in the dome, I'm probably going to pick the Saints. If it was at Bank of America, I'd probably pick the Panthers to get the upset. But that home field advantage for the Saints is nuts, even though I don't think either team is great. Derek Carr is obviously way more established than Bryce Young. Bryce Young needs to show he can take that next step as that franchise #1 pick QB. Alvin Kamara is elite. Chris Olave is really, really good. Jawan Johnson is really solid tight end. I think their defense is respectable. I think Panthers defense will be better. They made some nice additions to it, but offensively, I think Deontay Johnson was a solid addition. I'm not sure about the running backs, though. Chuba Hubbard and Miles Sanders, I'm not completely sold on any of those guys as a starting running back. I think the Saints are just a little bit more talented, and they're at home, which I think is a big advantage for them. So I'll go the Saints. I think it'll actually probably be a more defensive game than people think. I'll go the Saints to win this one 24-17.
Jason.
I'm gonna take the Saints in this one. Little bit of bias. Alvin Kamara is one of my favorite players in the league since he came in 2017. I just think he's just one of those guys you want to have on your team. He can do it all. He's a great pass catcher. Any guy missed. Good third down back. Good goal line back. He's really the ultimate Swiss Army knife. The Panthers. I have them being the worst team in the NFC this year. Again, despite what they added, I just don't think they're there yet. Bryce Young, let's see if he picks it up this year. They did bring in Deontay Johnson, which I think is going to help him out a little bit, but the O-line needs to improve. The defense needs to improve. They lost Brian Burns. I think the Saints have them in every position, honestly. Give me the Saints. I do agree with Noah, though. It's going to be more of a defensive, like, nitty-gritty game. Give me the Saints 17-10.
Okay, so I'm also going Saints, but look, Panthers spent a lot of money in the offseason on that interior offensive line. Robert Hunt commanded about $10 to $12 million a year. Austin Corbett, center, coming in from the Rams and the Browns, and then Damian Lewis from the Seahawks. This is what bad teams do. They overpay in free agency for average players, and that's what the Panthers are doing here. I don't like the moves made by GM Dan Morgan. I think they should just try to be what they are, which is not a good team. Again, obviously fight to win every game, but don't go in and spending all this money to produce a mediocre roster. I mean, Deontay Johnson, and then they drafted Xavier Leggett. You already have a veteran receiver in the room in Adam Thielen, but Mingo and Leggett are two guys that are promising, but the Saints, just a better team. They're at home, like you guys said. They're going to win this game. Final score 20-10. And that brings us to Jason, our beloved New York Football Giants, kicking off the 100th season of New York Giants football. At MetLife Stadium, the Vikings are 2-point favorites. Sam Darnold returns home to MetLife, and Daniel Jones returns to under center. Who do you got?
Another close one. I'm gonna get no bias. I'm taking the Giants. This is why. Even with JJ McCarthy, I would have still taken the Giants. But I just feel like the chemistry isn't there yet with the Vikings offense. They just brought in Aaron Jones. They have Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. TJ Hawkinson won't be playing for like the first half of the season, so their offense definitely does take a hit there. Obviously, McCarthy went down, so they have Darnold starting. Defense isn't mediocre to subpar. Nothing to be worried about if you're a Giants fan, I would say. I think Malik Neighbors is going to be a top 10 receiving yards leader this year. I think Daniel Jones finally has his guy. Like, we've had Kadarius Toney. He wasn't the guy. Jalen Hyatt is a good 2 to 3. Malik Neighbors is a bona fide number 1, and Daniel Jones now has that. And I think we're gonna see a different offense for sure this year. We brought in Brian Burns. We left a lot. Deontay Banks, second year. I think he's gonna take a big leap to being a top 15 corner. Bobby Okereke had a great season last year. Isaiah Simmons, for what we got him, for when we got him, he did his job for the most part. Our front four is great. You know what I mean? We got the best defensive tackle in the division, I think, in Dexter Lawrence. I think we win this game. I think we dominate on both sides of the ball. Yeah, give me the Giants. 28-21. We win by a touchdown.
All right. Noah, who do you got here in this one?
Man, this is that one game to where I don't really want to pick either team, and it's, hold a gun to my head, I'll choose someone. I gotta be honest, guys. I know you guys are Giants fans. This is probably like the most boring game of the week by far. I'd rather watch the Miami Redhawks play the Ohio Bobcats than watch this game. But I got to pick somebody. So I guess gun to my head, I'm probably going to pick the Vikings just because they have Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. And I don't think the Giants have any offensive weapons like that. I do think Malik Neighbors will be good, but the Vikings have Jefferson. He's elite. He's a top 3 receiver in the NFL easily. Sam Darnold versus Daniel Jones is personally a very uninspiring quarterback matchup. I think it's going to be the battle of mid, in my opinion. If J.J. McCarthy was playing, I'd probably pick the Vikings to win by like 10 or something. I think this is a field goal game. I actually think it's going to be very low scoring. I think the defenses are pretty decent, and the offenses, I don't know. I think they'll stall a bit. So I'm going to go the Vikings to win this one, 13-10.
All right. So I disagree as far as saying it's going to be a terribly watched game. First game, 100th season kicking off. MetLife is going to be rocking. I think it's going to be one of the most watched games this upcoming Sunday because it is New York, New Jersey, metropolitan area. Mm-hmm. Unbiasedly, I don't know how good of a season it's going to be. There are a lot of question marks first at the quarterback position with Daniel Jones. How will he look coming off the ACL injury and the neck injury? There's a lot of questions there. The team is downgraded at running back, Saquon Barkley, to Devin Singletary. Receivers, Malik Neighbors, Wan'Dale Robinson, Jalen Hyatt, Darius Slayton. That's a better room on average than what the Vikings have outside of Justin Jefferson. They lost KJ Osborne. TJ Hawkinson is out. He will not play. Obviously Sam Darnold is starting, and personally, that defense is going to fluster Sam Darnold. I think Dexter Lawrence dominates the line of scrimmage. But the one thing that concerns me, that Deontay Banks, Justin Jefferson matchup is going to be, I think, fun to watch. I think Jefferson definitely has the edge, but we'll see if the chemistry is in sort with Sam Darnold. But yeah, I'm going to go with the Giants here in this one. I'll talk about it more tomorrow night on Big Blue Avenue as to why. I think the Giants are going to win this game. I think they're going to score over 20 points. I think the Giants are going to win this game by a final score of 21-16. And then the Giants will win straight up and cover that Minnesota -2. Yeah, so let's move on. Raiders at the Chargers. Another matchup. AFC West, another divisional matchup. Jim Harbaugh, Chargers head coaching debut. Justin Herbert is back. New backfield, Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins. Noah, we'll start with you here. Who's winning?
Who's winning is me, because no matter what happens, either Brock Bowers or Ladd McConkey are going to start their NFL career 1-0. But unbiased, I think the Chargers win. I mean, Gardner Minshew is he's a decent spot starter. I don't think he should be your long-term starter. And Aiden O'Connell, kind of the same thing. And Justin Jefferson, I know he had a lot of people are kind of jumping off the Justin Jefferson ship. I am not. I think he's going to do really well this season. He's very talented. They brought in Jim Harbaugh. He's got to throw to. He's got Lad McConkey, Josh Palmer, DJ Chark. He's got good running backs in Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. My question is Quentin Johnston, because to be honest, he's looked like an absolute bust so far, even though he's a beast at TCU. He's dropping passes all over the place. Can he get it going, or will it be more the same for him? Their line, Rashawn Slater's an animal. Your guy, Joe Alt, I'll throw him in there for you, Tom. He's going to be very good in the NFL as well. Defensively, they got superstars. They got Khalil Mack. They still have Joey Bosa there as well. I think Perriman's a really solid, underrated linebacker. Derwin, when healthy, is really good. Asante Samuel Jr. as well. On the other side, I think it'll basically be Devontae Adams. My boy, former Georgia Bulldogs, Zamir White will probably be starting this game as well, and obviously Brock Bowers. But plain and simple, I think the Chargers are way more talented, although Max Crosby is a stud. If he disrupts the game up front, I think the Raiders have an upset chance. But I think the Chargers overall have more, so I'll pick them to win this game 24-17.
All right, Jason.
Close one for me. Another close one. For me, both very similar offenses, aside from the quarterback position, I think. I'm gonna have to go with the Chargers. I don't like Minshew in this matchup against that defense. Asante Samuel Jr. I think is the most underrated corner in the league. In coverage, I like him. Obviously against Devontae Adams, but against most receivers, I like him in coverage. Derwin James is just a beast at safety. He's disrupts the run game a lot. Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa off the edge. That's going to be a lot to handle. Raiders' offensive line is solid, but I'm taking the Chargers pass rush over that any day. The Raiders' offense outside of Devontae Adams to me just isn't too convincing. You know what I mean? Devontae Adams, I don't know if you guys saw, but in the Netflix special receiver that came out, he does not like playing there. He's getting a beating playing there. So he has a lot of workload because he is the standout on offense, but if they can't get the ball to him, I don't really see them staying with the Chargers in this game for too long. I give the coaching advantage to LA, so give me the Chargers. I'll say nothing more than 10 points. Chargers 28-18.
All right, let me tell you something. I never thought I'd say this, that Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer would be playing on the same team at the same position. We're going to see a lot of 12 personnel from the Raiders this season. Hot take, Bowers scores more touchdowns than Adams.
Thanks for reminding me, Tom. I forgot to say the Raiders had the best tight end in college football the last 3 years, and they also have Michael Mayer.
The second best tight end in college football the last 2 years.
Yes.
Before last year. But yes. So I like the Chargers in this one. Running the football is going to be the identity of this team with Jim Harbaugh, despite having Justin Herbert, who is an awesome talent. I do think Lad McConkey steps in and emerges as the number one receiver for LA. Quentin Johnston has not shown it just yet. Josh Palmer is a serviceable veteran who gets that chance to take the next step. I think what McConkey showed Noah in that game in Jacksonville against Florida was great, and I think he's developing real nicely. I like the Chargers in this one to cover that 3-point spread. Final score 26-17. Seahawks Broncos. Rookie quarterback Bo Nix, one of 3 rookies to start week 1. Whoever thought we'd say Bo Nix was one of 3 rookie quarterbacks to start week 1 when there were 5 quarterbacks clearly better than him in this year's draft, in my opinion. Seahawks favored by 6. This is a hostile environment going to the home of the 12th man in Seattle. They're favored by 6, and I think for good reason, Jason.
Give me the Seahawks in this one. The only thing that really made this a conversation for me was Denver's defense. I feel like their defense will just be able to keep them in the game. Bo Nix wasn't bad in the preseason. But again, that is just the preseason. I do want to see him more. I don't really watch him too much because he wasn't really like on my radar. I was really looking at the guys like Drake May, Jaden Daniels, guys along those lines. But yeah, I'm gonna take the Seahawks in this one. Still got DK, JSN, Tyler Lockett. That's a good receiving core to play against. Still got Kenneth Walker in that backfield with Charbonnet, Geno Smith at quarterback. Defense. They still got Reek Woolen. Pretty sure they lost Jamal Adams. Did they lose Jamal Adams? They did, right?
Yeah, he's on the
They
Titans.
did. They did lose Jamal Adams. Lost Bobby Wagner. Some holes to fill in that defense for sure, but I think it's good enough so they can get past Denver. Javonte Williams. I actually have him in fantasy, so I'm hoping the Denver runs the ball a lot. I'm not really intimidated by that Denver receiving core. They lost Jerry Jeudy, so I'm looking at Seattle 17.
All right, Noah, on the clock.
Tom, we've got a very interesting matchup to keep an eye on here. Two running backs that are third on the depth chart that were stars in college football. Running back Audric Estime from the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and running back Kenny McIntosh from the University of Georgia. Those will be two names to not keep an eye on, but maybe at some point in the season you will. As for the rest of the roster, look, I don't want to be mean because I don't like talking down on rookies before they even play a snap. I did not like Bo Nix in college. I think to say he was mid at Auburn was generous. I know he had a great season at Oregon, but I mean, let's be honest. Pac-12, now the Pac-2, is a conference where there's very little defense, very high-flying offenses. I mean, you know, you can throw if you're a talented player and you have a good arm, you can throw 40 touchdowns like Bo Nix did. But I'm personally not sold on him as an NFL prospect. I think the other side, Geno Smith has done serviceably well. I don't think he's amazing, but he's done fine the past 2 years for the Seahawks, and I think they have more offensively with Metcalf, Lockett, and JSN. Now, I will say Lockett and Fan are both questionable for this game, so that could be something to keep an eye on. But yeah, if they're at least even 75% healthy, I think they have more offensively. Defensively, I think Devon Witherspoon coming in the second year, I thought he was an absolute animal at Illinois. As a reason he was picked number 5. Leonard Williams, if he can stay healthy this year, that'll be big for the Seahawks because when he's healthy, he's a really good pass rusher. I'm gonna pick, and they're at home as well. The 12th man advantage is always big, so I'll pick the Seahawks to win this one. Final score, 24-10.
Now let's remember, Noah, you did at one point last year declare Bo Nix as your Heisman favorite for the University of Oregon.
I did.
Yeah. Saying that will not translate to the NFL potentially, or at least in this game. I like Seattle too. They're the better team right now, although I do think Sean Payton might have something up his sleeve out in Denver with Bo Nix because his mechanisms are a lot like Drew Brees, but let's be real. Bo Nix is a very, 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 very poor man's version of Drew Brees, in my humble opinion. Seattle wins. Final score, 22-19. All right, next up. Browns host the Cowboys. I believe this might be game of the week. I believe Tom Brady is on the call for this one. Browns favored by 2.5 at home. Noah, who do you got? Do you like Dallas on the road here, or will the home team find a way?
I've got Dallas in this one just because I'm really not sold on Deshaun Watson. I think it's been an absolute disaster ever since he's gone there. They do have talent. Jerome Ford was amazing stepping in for Chubb last season, who will be coming back. We don't know how healthy he'll be, but, I mean, if he's even close to healthy, I mean, Nick Chubb is an animal as well. Amari Cooper, solid number 1. But, again, it all comes down to Myles Garrett's a stud on defense. But, again, it all comes down to Watson. And, look, whether people like Dak or not, I know, you talk about the playoff chokes, and I get that. In the regular season, he's very good. Definitely has been way better than Deshaun Watson in the past 2 to 3 years. My only major concern with the Cowboys offensively is, as you said, the offensive line is going to be more inexperienced this season. And I don't like their running backs. I think bringing back Ezekiel Elliott is a pure desperation move. I think they would have been better off just trying to keep Tony Pollard if they could. Rico Dowdle, I think, is a solid receiving back. Dalvin Cook is another desperation signing, but they still have CeeDee Lamb. Brandon Cooks is always underrated, flies on the radar. Jake Ferguson, underrated tight end. Defensively, you got DeMarcus Lawrence, you got Michael Parsons, who's a superstar, Malik Hooker, Trayvon Diggs, Jordan Lewis. I'll pick the Cowboys to win this game. Final score 24-21.
All right. Like it. Jason, what do you got?
Give me the Browns in this one. 2 words. Denzel Ward. He has been one of my favorite corners to watch, especially when he's put up to the test against number ones. He's a corner I personally look up to, and I watch him a lot because he's amazing. I feel like if he has to, he can easily take CeeDee Lamb out of the game. I've seen him do it against Jamar Chase. I've seen him do it against Deontay Johnson, the players, in his division. I've seen him do it against like the big name receivers. I like that matchup. So I feel like if CD gets kind of contained, the Browns have a good chance. Granted, I would take Dak over Deshaun, but I feel like the Browns defense is just a little over the Cowboys defense. You know what I mean? So give me the Browns. And I do like so outside of CeeDee Lamb, I like the Browns 2 and 3s over the Cowboys 2s and 3s. So yeah, give me the Browns. Again, Jerome Ford had a great season for Nick Chubb last year. Njoku, a very underrated tight end. Feel like if he wasn't top 5 last year, he definitely had potential to be top 5 this year. Browns one of the top 5 O lines in the NFL, so I definitely want to take the Browns here. 27-20.
All right. Browns have a really good offensive line. Cowboys supposedly 2 on paper. Browns are a little more experienced though there. Dallas, better quarterback play. I love Dalvin Tomlinson. I always have. I think Dallas is going to struggle to run the football. I think Njoku scores the game-winning touchdown to help the Browns win by 3. I love my tight ends. I got Njoku as a backup in one of my leagues, and he helped me win one last season. Huge threat. Amari Cooper, too, is there. I love Cedric Tillman out of Tennessee. I hope he develops this year. Elijah Moore, solid players all around. Give me the Browns. Final score, 24-20. And that will bring us to the Bucks and the Commanders. Noah, we'll start with you here on this one. Bucks are favored by 3.5. Do the NFC South champions go up 1-0 on the Commanders, or do your sleeper team in the NFC pull this upset off?
Look, man, I got to be honest. I think the Bucks are a deserving favorite. I do think they have a better roster, but like you said, I'm riding or dying on this Jaden Daniels ship, man. Either he's gonna be a bust, and the ship crashes and I drown at the bottom of the ocean, or we're smooth sailing, cruising around the world. And I got to be honest, I'm going with the Washington just because of Jaden Daniels. He's got solid weapons. Now, I will say I think the Bucks have really good weapons as well, but my main concern with them is Baker Mayfield in his career. Go look at his stats. He has never had 2 good seasons back-to-back. He's always had good season, bad season, good season, and so on. And he was good last year. Can he show for the first time in his career he can do it back-to-back? He's got the weapons to do it. Rashad White, my man, I drafted him on my fantasy team. He's a great all-around back, running and catching. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and then a very underrated draft pick, Tom, 3rd rounder, Jalen McMillan was an animal at Washington. He's going to be very good as well. And Kate Otten. But I'm going with Jay Daniels, man. What can I say? I understand why people pick the Bucks. I think they're a slightly better team. But I'm riding or dying with Jay Daniels. I think he's going to be a superstar in the NFL. Give me Washington, 27-20.
All right, Jason. Do you like Washington as well?
Close one for me, but not really. I do like Washington as well. Not too high on Rashad White out of Tampa Bay. I know he's a great player, but just didn't. I personally don't like his play style. I feel like he could do more behind that Bucks offensive line, but he's still a good player. Mike Evans is gonna be Mike Evans. Chris Godwin out the slot. He's gonna make some plays. The Bucks did lose Devin White, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, the Bucks lost Devin White. So not wasn't a good pass coverage guy, but was a great run stopper. So I feel like that's a little bit of a hit for them in the run defense. Bucks secondary has been good for like the past 2, 3, 4 years. So that's gonna be something to look at. I really think the game is like Noah said, really, it's just Jaden Daniels. I think his rushing ability paired with Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler is going to be a lot. I think the backfield is what wins the game for Washington. They got Brian Robinson, could pound it all game, and then they got a good third down back and Austin Eckler, good pass catcher, good in the open field. Yeah, give me Washington in this one. 21-13.
All right. So guess what? I also like Washington in this game. I think Jaden Daniels has an outstanding debut as a rookie for the Commanders, and I think although their offensive line has some struggle, I think this was the one upset that I wanted to lock in for the week from the get-go, and that's what I'm going to do. Tampa Bay is a solid team. They have a lot of returning players. Majority of their roster, there is a stat, I think 78% of their roster is homegrown, being that they don't have a whole lot of free agents. They're one of the top 2 teams in the league. It's them and it's the Baltimore Ravens are the 2 teams that are mostly homegrown. So definitely excited for them and their offense. But in this game, guys, yeah, I think Washington's going to pull it off. There's going to be one game this week that is like, team comes out of nowhere and wins, and what do you know, all 3 of us wound up taking it. So maybe it's not, we're just going to come out of nowhere and win. It's like, there's real traction behind this. Washington's going to win. So final score, throw me a wish, 23-22, guys. Washington. All right. Finally, Sunday Night Football, last 2 games of the evening. Folks, this will be the only week we're doing all 16 games, just to be clear. We're going to be reverting to some shots and chasers next week, but it's week 1. Super show tonight. Rams at Lions. Lions are favored by 3.5. Rematch of last year's playoff game. It's Matthew Stafford against Jared Goff in the opposite uniforms. Now they're normal uniforms. Once again, Noah, as the UGA fan, I'm going to turn to you here first for Matthew Stafford, still going strong in the NFL since 2009. Can he pull off this upset on Sunday Night Football?
He can, but I don't think he will. And there's a few reasons why now. Obviously, there's a lot of storylines about this. Matthew Stafford playing his old team. Jared Goff playing his old team. That big trade is, still rearing his head a few years later. But I'm going with the Lions for a few reasons. Number 1, the Rams starting left tackle from last season, Alec Jackson, is suspended for this game. He's going to be out. And left guard Jonah Jackson and Rob Havenstein are both questionable as well. I think Stafford and Goff will both have good games. I think Kyren Williams, Cooper Kupp, and obviously Puka Nacua, very good offensive weapons. But on the other side, Jahmyr Gibbs was quoted today as saying he feels, quote, 98 to 100% healthy and that he's ready to play in this game. So that could be a big factor. Even if he's not, David Montgomery is no scrub as well stepping in. Amon-Ra is an animal. Jameson Williams, he's going to hit his stride at some point. He's very explosive in college at Bama. Sam Laporta is a top 3 tight end in the NFL based off last season. And very experienced offensive line. Decker, Glasgow, and Ragnow have all been there since at least 2018. They bring in Kevin Zeitler, who is still 34, but he's always been rock solid, and Penei Sewell as well. So I think the Lions have a slightly better roster. I think they're both very good teams. But guys like Aiden Hutchinson, Marcus Davenport, Jack Campbell on the defensive side, look for them to make a difference as well. Rams are really solid. I think they'll make the playoffs, but I'll pick the Lions to win this one at home as well. Sunday Night Football at Ford Field, 27-24.
Wow. Like it. Jason, do you agree or are you going the other way?
I agree for one reason being that the Rams lost their franchise player and Aaron Donald. He retired. And I think that was the centerpiece of that defense. Um, the Rams offense is very convincing, but the defense, I got to see something with that Rams defense. I like the Lions in almost every way. Uh, that O line, remarkable. Brian Branch on the defense had a great rookie year. I feel like he's gonna take that leap. Alex Anzalone, I think he had a really underrated season last year. He was making a lot of plays from what I've seen. Jahmyr Gibbs, great rookie year. I think he's gonna be even better this year. Amon-Ra, like we said, top 5 receiver in the league right now, I think. Sam Laporta, top 5 tight end in the league. The Lions just have too much to throw at the Rams, which I don't think they'll be able to contain. So with that being said, I'm going to take the Lions 27, Rams 19.
Yeah, this is a game I really want to pick the Rams, but the Lions have too much firepower on both sides of the ball. Offensively, they're stacked up front, good running backs in Montgomery and Gibbs. Defensively, they're stacked too. It's going to be too much for the Rams to handle, although I do love the Rams' skilled players offensively. We didn't really talk about these two in the backfield. Kyron Williams and Blake Corum, phenomenal running backs. Blake Corum is a deep sleeper this year in fantasy football, guys. With Kyron Williams' running style, he is not likely to play in every game this season. Blake Corum is phenomenal. If you don't have him, go get him. If he wasn't drafted, he probably was drafted, but in case he wasn't. Yeah, I'm going Lions here. Final score. You know what? This is going to be around the area that you guys were saying. For me, I'm going to go 26-23. Lions win. Another sweep. Love it. All right. Let's see if we're different on this one. Final game, Monday Night Football in San Francisco. The 49ers host the New York Jets. 49ers favored by 4.5 points. Glad to hear everything is okay out there in San Francisco with Ricky Pearsall. Definitely a scary scene. Shout out to him and his family and the 49ers, of course. Aaron Rodgers, will he make it through a game as a Jet? Well, we will find out on Monday Night Football. It was last year on Monday Night Football that Aaron Rodgers went out for the season. I believe on the 4th play from scrimmage or the 2nd play, I forget, but it was one of those. I think I was commuting home from work that night as the game started, and I found out on the train, can't have nice things. That's why you can't have nice things. Noah, you're up first. Who's winning this game?
I've got the 49ers to win this one. I think the Jets still have a major question mark in how good Aaron Rodgers is going to be. I think it'll be a defensive contest. Both these teams have really good defensive units. Both teams do have elite running backs in Hall and McCaffrey, Garrett Wilson. I have a major question mark, though, for the Jets at wide receiver. What is Mike Williams going to do as their potential new number 2? He showed signs in L.A., and then there were other times where he looked a bit really inconsistent, dropping some passes. I think he could be a great deep threat, but I do think there are question marks around him. On the other side, luckily the 49ers solved their 2 biggest questions in Brandon Ayuk and Trent Williams, just doing Trent Williams today, actually. But they got both those guys extended, so I don't have to worry about that. Deebo Samuel as well. And then George Kittle, if he stays healthy, which he did last year, he's an elite tight end as always and great at blocking. Pure defensive slugfest, but I think the 49ers arguably have the best roster in the NFL. Definitely better than the Jets, in my opinion. So I'm going to pick them to win this game. It will be defensive, so I'm going final score, San Fran 20, the Jets 14.
All right. Jason, you got the Jets defense in fantasy football. Do they live up to the hype, keep them around? Can Aaron Rodgers make enough plays? What are you thinking?
Tom, this is a tough one for me. I'm not gonna lie. I always look at the defense first, and for me, it's tough because I think the 49ers defense will exploit the Jets offensive line a lot more than vice versa. But the Jets like once they get past that front four, it gets even better, I think. Jermaine Johnson, CJ Mosley, they really have the weapons, like, and then that Jets secondary, oh my goodness. It's just a scary sight. You know what I'm saying? I think the backfield is going to be a battle. I'm gonna give the edge to San Francisco, but I do think Brees Hall will still do his thing. I don't want to be that guy that ruins the sweep, but oof, I'm gonna have to take the Jets. I think it comes down to quarterback play, and if we're talking quarterback play, I think Aaron Rodgers is the better quarterback. This is honestly probably gonna be, even though this isn't the listed game of the week, I think this is going to be the game of the week for me. Yeah, this is, as soon as I get home from practice, everything is second to this game. This is really going to be a game where we see, like, if the Jets defense is what it is on paper, and if the 49ers are on the same track that they've been on for the last 2 or 3 years, and if Brock Purdy, and now I want to see if Brock Purdy, is he really a top 7 to 10 quarterback, or is he just put in a great system? So I think that question has to be answered, but I'm gonna give it to the Jets. Defensive game, but still 2 very good offenses. So I think it's gonna be kind of a shootout. Give me the Jets 30. Give me the 49ers 26. 30-26 Jets.
Final game of the night. It's going to be pretty interesting. I'll tell you that.
That was terrible, man. Come on.
We're going to find out on Monday Night Football if the Jets are a legit playoff team, in my opinion. The Jets have not made the playoffs since 2010. Devour that. It's tough. It's tough. I think the 49ers are pissed off with the way last season ended. They should have won that game. They just managed it terribly. But the 49ers are going to win this one, in my opinion. I thought about the Jets for a minute. I seriously considered taking them. I think they're going to have a really good season. I think they'll finish above 500. But for week 1, 49ers win. They're at home. So give me a final score. 49ers 25, Jets 23.